Sam from Cultaholic, and this is Graded for AEW Dynamite, where I take a look at the show segment by segment and award each little bit of grade from A+ to F. Now this week it's night 2 of Fyter Fest. Let's get hyped! But in all seriousness, a lot of stuff going on. Very dense show. Let's crack on with it. So yeah, Jack is off, I'm just filling in for this one, don't worry, he will be returning, but we start things off tonight with Private Party, who are accompanied by Matt Hardy, against Kenny Omega and Adam Page in a match for the AEW Tag Team Championships. Nearly said WWE ones there. So recently they've been on better terms. There was a little bit of a weird situation with the whole drink thing. But, you know, hopefully they're going to be able to stay together. So Omega and Quen start with Omega tagging in Hangman, and Hangman comes in and just cleans house. So Paige isolates Quen really well here. He cuts the ring in half, but Quen is able to power up out of it, and Private Party are able to hit the silly string. Things fall apart into a little bit of a brawl. We end up with Paige and Quen in the audience just having a little bit of a fight, and then Cassidy sees this, comes flying over the top with this massive springboard, clears the ringside area and wipes them out. There's a great double team segment with Private Party just hitting more and more crazy stuff, and then we end up with Cassidy and Omega in a little bit of a strike-off. Paige is dumped to the floor, Kenny's able to hit the You Can't Escape, and then Paige gets back in, picks up Quen, power bombs him onto Cassidy's prone body. Private Party are able to overcome though, they handle Paige, they take care of Omega, and then there's a buckshot attempt from Paige. It's sort of all tied up on the ropes ramp side. This culminates with Paige getting just spiked, absolutely spiked into the ramp. Quen almost has it here, but Omega comes in, breaks the fall. Things then fall apart a little bit more. They go for the gin and juice, but it's met with a Liger bomb, and then they hit the last call. So, of course, Omega and Paige win, and I'm going to give this one a B-. It was a super energetic opener. Private Party looked every little bit the equal of Paige and Omega. They were just busting out more and more innovative stuff. It's always a pleasure to watch them. They've got to be the best upcoming tag team in the industry. I might go out on a limb and say that. They're just great. That being said, story-wise, it didn't really do much but bolster the already strong record of Omega and Paige, so swings and roundabouts. Next up we have Joey Janela versus Lance Archer, and Archer arrives with Sunny Kiss just military pressed above him, and he just throws him at Janela as if he was a ball, just whoop. After that he proceeds to murder him. He murders him in the ring, he murders him around the ring, he murders him back in the ring for a bit. Janela's eating a lot of punishment. He does find a window though. I think he hits a crossbody to the outside before then pulling a table out, and then he goes for it, like sets the table up, then goes for a chair. Referee's like, what are you doing? He's going to come off the top rope, obviously through the table, everything with the chair. Referee gets involved, it's like no, and causes a distraction. So Archer jumps back in, and at this point it's revealed that Jake has his burlap sack with him, so the snack is in the building. Janela at this point is trying to pull a Rocky 5. He's lying there just taking it and taking it and taking it and getting back up and taking it some more, and he's just getting steamrolled as we head into the break. When we come back, Archer continues, surprise surprise, to dominate, but Sunny Kiss is able to get involved. There's a bit of a distraction. Jake, I think, tries to get into the ring and the referee's distracted with Jake. Sunny Kiss is able to hit a 450 because the ref's back's turned, and this is pretty much handing it back to Janela. Janela is as well, just trying to lay it in, just lay it in, and Archer's just taking it and not responding, and then slowly he's getting worn down. He's eventually able to take him to the floor. But getting to the end of the match, Archer ends this one with quite the full stop. He picks up Janela on the apron and goes blackout through the table. It was gnarly. Overall, I think I'm only going to give this one a C+ though. It was a nice little match with some character building for Janela here, but just sort of, yeah. Archer has to maintain this dominance, so it makes sense for him to win here. Jake's distraction was a little bit confusing, like it didn't seem like something Jake would do. It didn't like he'd ever be that bumbly. It was sort of like a mistake on his part. That was a bit weird. But as I said, Janela looked like the ultimate underdog babyface here. It was class. He was just taking as much punishment as possible and getting back up and asking for more. Shades of Tommy Dreamer. Fantastic. Next up, we've got Tony Schiavone in the ring for Tazz's big announcement. So out comes Tazz with Brian Cage, and he's got a little black velvety bag in his hand. He runs down Moxley for being a wimp, for not showing up and all of this stuff. And, you know, like, that match was supposed to be tonight, but I guess it'll just have to be next week and all of that stuff. And then he directs her attention to what is in this velvet bag. So he says the thing in the bag was something that he created decades ago, and it's made of his blood, sweat, and tears. And then he pulls it out, and it's the FTW Championship. He says promotions may have never recognised it, but every single fan that saw him with that belt knew he was the baddest guy in wrestling. He was like the tough, no-nonsense dude. You can't mess with him. He then crowns Paige the new FTW champion, and while I was super happy to see this belt again, and while I thought it was really cool, and while I'm a big ECW fan, only going to give it a C+. It just didn't really go the way I was expecting. I know that we've got a much smaller audience here, so maybe that's really playing into it up here for me. But I don't know, like, the original belt was born out of Tazz's kayfabe frustrations with, like, Shane Douglas and the political nature of ECW, and you don't want to give me a title shot, well, I'm already my own champion. That was the sort of mentality, and I think you could have maybe waited, because if it's going to go the way that Paige loses, like, you could have then given him the belt there, just waited a little bit longer, and then you've got this heel running around, calling himself a champion that's had no right to call himself that. I think that you could have got a lot more longevity out of that, whereas now I think it'll just be sort of a one and done. We'll see the belt, and it'll just never quite have that impact. I don't know, maybe it will. Maybe we'll see Brian Cage still calling himself the FTW champion. Maybe it'll work really well. I have no idea, I'm not a booker. Next up, we have possibly the most anticipated match of the night, when FTR and the Young Bucks take on Lucha Bros and Butcher and the Blade. So we've got a lot of diverging storylines here. We've got FTR wanting the Bucks, we've got Butcher and the Blade stealing FTR's car, you've got the Lucha Brothers and Bucks history between each other within the promotion. I think it's all going to go just a little bit mental. So he starts off with Penta and Nick in the ring. Penta goes to take his glove off and immediately throws it at FTR. Harwood's like, I'm not having that. Tags himself in. Here we go. Harwood, Penta to start things off. So they're just trading blows, going back and forth. It's then revealed that Tully and Sean Spears are sat with a little notepad watching the match closely. Harwood lays out Phoenix with this mammoth clothesline. Wheeler gets in for a bit, and then eventually Matt Jackson tags himself in off the back of Wheeler, and Wheeler looks angry. He quickly lets it pass though, and then Matt gets in, and the pace absolutely rockets. He and Nick then proceed to clean house, then Butcher and the Blade return the favour in kind. And then we get a great showing from Phoenix and Nick. There's some this double rope work. They're both like jumping between the ropes, and then it results in Nick coming off with this massive Rana. Things then break down into a brawl with Butcher and the Blade taking it to Wheeler. Wheeler manages to get the tag to Matt, who again cleans house. There's a massive dive to the floor, and then Harwood and Nick have this moment, just a little bit of a moment of respect. They look at each other, they nod, and then it's quickly cut short. FTR is setting up for that double team pile driver. Wheeler gets distracted on the outside by Butcher. This just leaves Harwood waiting in position. Then Nick Jackson jumps in and makes the save. He completes the move. And then, that was just great. They then isolate Blade. They look at him. They look at each other. They hit this crazy full weight joint top rope move. And they get 2.99999. And then Phoenix just breaks it all up. There is possibly spot of the match, this mental, absolutely unbelievable Canadian Destroyer from Phoenix. I think it's on Matt, or is it on Nick? I think it's on Nick, actually. They're like all on the apron, there's some people on the outside, and then he just comes over the apron, there's a little bit of back and forth, before running back off the rope, hitting him with a Destroyer just straight over onto this mountain of bodies. And then as we boil down toward the end of the match, Matt has Penta banged to rights. He's got him lined up for a super kick. He goes for it. Penta moves and he connects with Harwood. Harwood gets leveled. Matt doesn't know what to do and it's all a bit awkward. The Luchas then hit the LB driver and they pick up the win. And this match gets an A. It gets an A all day. How could it not? It was like walking into a war. There was so much happening. Once they got up to full pace, just unbelievable. I guarantee you could watch this match back 3-4 times and you'd notice things that you've not seen before in the match itself. The attention to detail runs so deep, and that final fatal miscommunication just seems like it's going to set up something brilliant. They'd worked so well as a pair of teams to that point, and I just think this is the biggest, most juicy thing they can hang here, is this miscommunication. Oh, it's going to be so good when they square off. Next, I'll not put a picture up because it was so quick. Big Swirl arrives at the building and she is served a notice of suspension for kidnapping and harassment. I think we all know who's behind this. So next up we have Nyla Rose versus Kilynn, King and Kenzie, Paige. And I don't think anybody's going to forgive me for just reading out how this match went because it was pretty quick. Isn't that a shock? The competitors can't decide who will start, so Nyla murders Kenzie before murdering King, before murdering both of them, before winning. The match really wasn't the important thing here though. What's important is afterwards. Nyla reveals something to the AEW universe. She's like, I've been watching people backstage. I see that a lot of people that have managers have a lot of success. Maybe I need a manager, maybe I need that experience to guide me at this stage in my career. So I'd like to announce that I have got myself a manager, I've hired a manager, but I'm not going to tell you who it is. So the match really wasn't the important thing here. It's just serving for more hype as toward who this manager is. I wonder who it could be. I'm genuinely at a loss. Are they going to bring in another legend? What do you guys think? Let me know below. But in terms of a grade, anybody that knows my grades know that I sort of grade my squashes mid-table. This one gets a C+ because it had the additional little bit of the manager reveal at the end. But yeah, usually they're too short. Unless it's a massive shock, it's not going to get any more than a C+. Nothing wrong with the match, it was just a squash. Backstage we have Colt Cabana getting worked over by a physio. He's got some pretty intense bruising all the way up his side, but Brody Lee's like, you're going to be fine. We've got a 6-man tag tonight, remember? Come on. And so next up we have the Dark Order, which is Mr. Lee, Grayson and Colt Cabana up against SCU. So Daniels and Grayson start off with a rapid exchange. SCU each get their go on Grayson. Grayson here, throughout this match, eats a lot of punishment. The guy just keeps coming and keeps coming and keeps coming and gets knocked down, but he won't stay down. Colt then gets in and immediately he's having problems with his ribs. Just one shot to the ribs and he's in agony. Lee and Grayson look at each other like, what are we going to do? Screw it. They get in the ring and it devolves into a brawl. Another thread running through here is that they're sort of doing Colt's work for him because he's heavily injured. I mean, that bruising looked horrible, but clearly they want him as part of the Dark Order, so they're trying to be nice to him by doing his work for him a little bit. We go to a break and they proceed to just beat Scorpio Sky down through this break. The Dark Order do a really good job of isolating and routinely tagging in their corner. Sky, however, is able to fight back. He sends Grayson to the floor. He goes straight after Colt's ribs and once again, everything breaks down. Kazarian and Brody Lee get in and Kazarian is just going ham. Again, it breaks down. There's a massive tope from Daniels, but eventually, Lee is able to kill him with a lariat. But instead of getting the pin himself or allowing Grayson the pin, he commands Colt to get in the ring, and Colt takes the victory. It's worth noting as well, post-bell here, Swole has managed to sneak her way into the building after being told she wouldn't be allowed in. She's suspended, and she's kicking off with Britt Baker. There's a little bit of an altercation. Britt Baker's clutching her nose. She's in pain, and it's just loud and screamy. Oh, it's loud and screamy. I'm going to give this one a B-. It was paced well, if a little bit chaotic toward the end, and I think the most interesting thing here is the way that the Dark Order are treating Colt Cabana. Is he really going to join? Are there other wheels spinning? Is he using them to amass wins? I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. And finally, we have our main event, Orange Cassidy versus Chris Jericho. Jericho is joined by Santana and Ortiz. They stay at ringside. Cassidy comes out with the best friends, but they go to stand in the crowd. They're not going to be there. He wants to wrestle this one-on-one. Jericho has been awful to him recently, and I think we're finally going to see Cassidy fully lose his cool here. So the bell rings and Cassidy's hands straight in the pockets. Jericho's coming at him wildly, but he's dodging and avoiding absolutely everything, even hitting that massive, beautiful dive to the outside, at which point Cassidy explodes. So he's sending in barricade, back in the ring goes for Jericho. Jericho reverses it into a lion tamer. Cassidy looks done, but he's able to get to the rope, but Santana is able to get a cheap shot in while the ref isn't looking. Jericho then proceeds to just taunt him, tease him, he's standing tall, and he's just Irish whipping him as hard as he can from corner to corner, spine first, each time. Cassidy fires back with a few rapid pin attempts, but Jericho's having none of it, sends him to the outside and gets his revenge for the barrier work earlier. When Cassidy's able to get back to his feet, he's met with more abuse from Jericho. He's just starting to stretch him while standing. The referee's not looking. Jericho's grabbing the rope just for an extra bit of leverage, just really wanting to inflict pain here on Orange Cassidy. It then goes to trading blows, but once again Cassidy is sent flying to the barricade from the apron. And then Jericho starts targeting the stitches in the ear of Cassidy, and that is it. He starts to really hulk up here, put some space between them, and finally he's got enough room to work. So now with the space between them, Jericho stood at a distance. They're like looking at each other. Cassidy comes in for his mocking kicks where he's gently tapping the legs, and then on the third mocking kick just nails Jericho in the face with a super kick. He goes for his Superman shot, but he gets caught into the walls and ground down into the mat. He rolls through, but it's not enough, and then while he's got a chance, Santana, I think it was Santana, just got his orange juice because they've had these massive cartons of orange juice, throws it in his face, and then the best friends are seeing this, they've had enough, they jump in, then, that all just devolves into this massive brawl. So while the ref's distracted by all of this, Jericho made his entrance with a bat, he grabs that bat, connects with Cassidy, hits a code breaker, 1, 2, massive kick out. Cassidy then dodges a lion salt, he hits a Michinoku driver, hits Stun Dog Millionaire and a swinging DDT, but that's not enough. There's then strikes being exchanged and Jericho turns Judas effect. 1, 2, 3. Chris Jericho wins, defeating Orange Cassidy. I'm going to give this one an A, an unbelievable showing. Cody once said, he once sort of warned us all that when Orange Cassidy finally gets to take the chains off and he actually starts wrestling full ham, it's going to be something really special. And I don't think we've seen that yet. I don't think we've seen him fully take everything off and wrestle, but we're getting there. And it is great. The near falls in this match came at the perfect moments. They were so believable. The amount of times I was just sat there hanging on every last millisecond. Both men absolutely rose to the occasion here and both deserve to be commended for their work. In terms of an overall grade though, I'm going to give Fyter Fest Night 2 an A-. It was a great show, strong performances, no screw-ups, no injuries, nothing horrible. Like, even all the way through the squash match, they were entertaining matches. It was just great. AEW just put on such good shows. So yeah, show was solid, but in terms of the juiciest little bit that's hanging now for the future, moving forward, it's going to be that super kick. When they finally go one-on-one, it's going to be amazing. It should headline whatever show. It's, yes. FTR Young Bucks. I can't wait. That being said though, that main event was super juicy. And that's it. I've been Sam from Cultaholic. That's been Graded. Stay safe.